All right. So we should be live on YouTube. Let's see if I can get the link posted in the archive. There we go. Now, some people were having issues with the stream not loading, so I did attempt to drop the settings down just a bit, and hopefully that will help out those individuals better be able to watch the stream real time and have it render for them much more easily. All right. And then let me just check if there's any. Okay, no, we're good. All right, so come on down to stage chat. We can hang out. And I'm going to jump in and get started with some of the core updates. Basically, a rundown of the different marketing information that we've released. So I'm going to try and move through it relatively quickly because if you've gone through the announcements or the video or the AMA, the fireside chat, then most of this information should be relatively familiar to you, but interesting nonetheless to review. So marketing in a bear market, marketing in a bear market, our marketing team handles everything related to marketing connections, content creation, and it's done entirely in-house by Sphere itself. And one thing that was hammered home as much as we could is that we really value your guys, the community's feedback. It's very helpful, very important to us, and we certainly listen to and integrate community feedback when we feel that it's helpful. And as always, also, let's see here. The marketing team is going to continuously discuss every possible scenario in the market and it's going to change its strategy accordingly. So that makes the marketing within Sphere quite constantly pivoting and not static. So it's a game of constantly changing our strategy. So, and also washing our hands, indeed. So in terms of marketing, Dyson has been a big area where we've been able to market Sphere without putting additional funds into marketing because Dyson is built on top of these other protocols and also benefits these other protocols. And because Dyson is tokenless, it doesn't require people to buy or use a new token. So it can be very beneficial for these protocols, help them build their TVL, as well as, of course, benefiting Sphere. And, there's minimum fees for Dyson. That's going to allow maximized yield for the users. It's going to be easy to use for all farmers. And so there's a lot of merit in asking other protocols to showcase these strategies to their users. Dyson's almost a way of connecting Sphere to builders from all corners of DeFi. It also means that Sphere's marketing and Dyson's marketing is very much tailored and focused specifically to each protocol that it's built upon per strategy. So it is as if every strategy within Dyson is a mini project of its own, fully tailored to a certain type of DeFi farmer in order to appeal to that type of risk appetite. And then you may have seen, thanks to our team's hard work, we have at least 13 Dyson strategies spanning over 20 projects on 5 different chains, and Dyson has not even launched yet. So I think that's very exciting. I know we've been waiting for Dyson for a while, but it just keeps getting bigger, more interesting as we go along. And even within those strategies, that's a Twitter following of over 3 million combined across all protocols and chains. And I personally don't want to stand too strongly behind something like that, but it does speak to the potential that our strategies have to reach and to be showcased to within that following. So I think that's at least worth its merit. The other big thing is that safety is, of course, our number one priority, as we've been talking about on many different facets now with Dyson. Coming back, talking with these different teams, one of the biggest things that comes back is concerns about safety. And the way to address that is through auditing and then beta testing, which is why we're going through those things. And of course, more info about that to come when the time comes. But ultimately, Sphere's fundamentals have not changed. Sphere always will be a project centered around attracting liquidity, building out these different projects. And we are carefully building out these building blocks for the new liquidity to flow once the global market is confident enough to re-enter DeFi. And I'm not someone who's going to pretend to know what's going to come next in the global market. We are in this ride together. Let's just put it that way. And of course, with recent events in crypto being as interesting as they have been, and showing signs of people becoming more interested in decentralized finance versus centralized crypto, Sphere is certainly trying its best to position itself well. Yeah, very interesting. And hey, Oxy. Positioning itself well, continuing to build itself into every category of DeFi project there is, essentially, really building out the ecosystem. And of course, there are many, many factors outside of our control. So, for example, in our recent announcement and Medium article, we mentioned that on the same day we had planned to co-market with another big protocol, FTX decided to do what FTX did, and it kind of forced us to stay silent about that for some time. It just doesn't make sense to try and release bullish information when a $1 billion... Yeah, you get the idea. Hey, Panda, what's up? So, regardless, we are still in contact with projects substantially bigger than ours, and we are carefully planning our approach to Dyson with them. And Sim also built out connections during his stay at ETH India, and Sphere's also been contacted by other teams to try and express their interest in Dyson. This means that already word is starting to spread, and there's external interest simply by word of mouth. More like the marketing weeding out centralization more efficiently. Yeah, lots of things will come of this, and we are really in the thick of it. So we're witnessing history in many ways. So, those are the core updates I wanted to go through. I went through them pretty quickly, but I feel, most of us have hopefully had the opportunity to review this information already. And it's certainly, most of it's that I've talked about is already outlined in the Medium article in the announcements section, if you're interested in kind of digging in a bit more and reading more deeply into these things. Fun in terms of voice of the community, we're doing our Advent calendar giveaway, which is pretty cool. So every day we're giving away Sphere, and all you have to do is go to the Advent giveaway tab and simply click the ta-da icon to enter the draw to win. And that happens every day. It's currently active right now. The next draw ends in about 11 hours. So all you have to do is go over that and make sure you click the ta-da sign, and you will be in to potentially win that draw. So be sure to do that. All right. With that then, we have quite a few questions that have built up since we had the miss last week due to the fireside chat. And similar to last time, I'm going to stay here in stage chat. That way we can kind of keep it as an open discussion if people want to kind of use it as an opportunity to open up another discussion. And I'm going to be reading off of these questions on a separate form. So, I'll repeat the questions for everyone, and then we'll go through the responses. But if you're curious where I'm getting these from, it's from the hashtag AMA questions in the lounge section of the Discord. All right. So Kairzil was asking, any plans to change the liquidity / treasury from USD Plus to another stablecoin or Matic based on recent events of depeg on AVAX. So USD Plus did have some difficulties on Avalanche Network and also on Binance, as you can recall. But rest assured that if we ever find ourselves in any situation where we need to take action for what is in the best long-term interest of Sphere, we certainly will. But at this time, we continue to be paired with USD Plus. We continue to be partners with Overnight Finance, who is doing everything they can to do right by their community, and we respect that. Every crypto team is going to face challenges, and we certainly support Overnight Finance through the challenges that they face. Next up, we have The Beef, who I'm not going to read through his or her entire question. The question is quite heated, so you're welcome to take a look at AMA questions, but seeing this type of question, I do sense a lot of frustration and anger, and I think it's worth pointing out a few things in response to this. First, the Treasury is for Spherians. The Sphere Treasury is for Spherians. It's the lifeblood of the project, and it's our goal to protect it and expand it as much as possible. That always means using assets carefully, and that importance is certainly elevated even further now with general interest in DeFi trending lower. And then also in many ways, reflecting on this question, Sphere is a Sphere Treasury token, especially Sphere v3 when it is launched. That's essentially the point of Sphere, is for the ecosystem and the Treasury earnings to funnel into Sphere holders. But that does take time to build. And in the meantime, we do not control the market. And we are in this journey of the way the markets are, just as much as you are. So we do understand your frustration. We do understand the anger. And we are doing everything that we see is in the best long-term interest of Sphere and Spherians. And I think, truthfully, we've shown that we are able to do that very well, given that our Treasury is still able to do everything it's able to do, which also comes up later in the question. All right. Banjo Bob asked, can Sim try an AMA/conversation on Twitter Spaces? I think this will capture a new audience rather than just the same people on the Sphere Discord. So this has come up quite a bit about using Twitter Spaces, and ultimately, in terms of Sim doing an AMA, that's up to Sim. Recently, he has been laser focused on working behind the scenes with all things Sphere. Overall, though, Twitter is definitely a communication and networking tool we would like to use in the future, and we're working on plans for how and when to do so. In terms of the community AMAs, because they are for the community, we find, at least right now, it's best done through Discord, right? This is our direct link to you guys, our community. So at least for the time being, these AMAs with myself and you guys will be through Discord. Alrighty. Plob, back again, asked, 500,000 deployed at 40 an hour will last 500 days. Why are we doing buyback burns so slowly? Buyback burns is so much more effective when we are sub 1 cent. Is it really a good idea not to buyback burn more now? So actually there are always different reasons as to why the burn rate is what it is, and we will not be burning through the entire amount that we have saved at this reduced rate. And in fact, the rate was recently increased. For those interested, you can always check, I think it's sphere.wiki/BBB, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah, sphere.wiki/BBB. And it also, oh yeah, perfect, thank you. It does take a while for this to load up, I've noticed, so just, open it in a separate tab and let it load in. Can I even go, why can't I scroll down? Can't even scroll down right now. There we go. So if you scroll down and let that load in, you can see that the hourly spending has gone up to about $75, where it was at 40 previously. So we're not going to be, sending this through at such a reduced rate. We've already increased the rate. And as Pandu mentioned, you can also check Polyscan as well to see. I lost myself on that question. Let's see. Yeah, so we did increase the burn rate, but we also, we're not going to be burning through the funds super quickly just because we can. We are timing our use of the treasury, and we are certainly holding our ground despite market conditions in terms of what the treasury is capable of. So all deployments of the treasury, including for buyback burning, it must be done thoughtfully, carefully. So there's a lot of things to consider within that. But ultimately, to get to the core of your question, yes, we have ramped up buyback burns above the 40 an hour. All right. Next was OX Guedes, who asked several questions. So we can go through them one at a time. The first question was about the treasury. Approximately how much was the treasury revenue from the month of November, and how does it compare to the previous months? So who knows how once Ultra, who knows how long Hollow Winter be? You got to play the long game and play it conservatively instead of just YOLOing out once. Exactly, yeah. So jumping back to Plob's question about burning, it really is more about thinking of the long term. We don't know how long the market conditions are going to be, how they're going to be. So we really do have to play things conservatively and conserve and use the treasury as wisely as we can. Because again, it is the lifeblood of Sphere, Syrians, of what we're trying to achieve here. All right. So yeah, now jumping back to OX Guedes. I want to say Guedes. Approximately how much was the treasury revenue for the month of November, and how does it compare to previous months? So I don't have a specific number for you at this time, but the treasury yield was enough to cover team expenses and compound back into the treasury. Just like the month prior, we have been able to still compound back into the treasury, which of course is essential for the longevity of the treasury. We're of course pivoting our different strategies, given that DeFi yields are getting harder to come by. So right now our treasury is mostly in stables and blue chips like Matic, and we're farming these different things. And also, fortunately, with like the advent of Dyson, for example, we may be able to utilize some of those strategies for the treasury itself. And of course, we're very bullish on those sorts of things. Question number 2 is, since we launched the open positions page, how many people have been hired and for what positions? So actually many have applied, and we have accepted a lot of contenders, as well as put some on hold. We want to carefully examine every application to make sure that when we give the applicant a position, that the position itself is in good hands, right? Across all of crypto, we have seen what small mistakes can cause, and it has kind of a ripple effect, different hacks, exploits, etc. And even just last week, we received news about 2 projects getting exploited. So, due to this, we are really looking at taking our approach as carefully as possible with these positions. But we'd also like to take the time to celebrate the fact that we've built out 3 departments of Sphere with our applicants and more. We've got the DeFi research team, the front end team, and the marketing team. So that's more or less the status of the hiring of positions within Sphere. And the next question kind of runs into that. But let's see. Pandu, using the treasury to farm. Philip Fred, double whammy. Indeed, yep. So treasury, of course, can continue to contribute to buyback burns. Can't YOLO with hiring either. Right person for the right job is important. Definitely. Absolutely. It's kind of this like, I think this is kind of a problem I want to push into, a little bit. There's this tendency to want to push into things, get things done quickly, and turn things around in terms of the market. There's kind of like that anxious energy, we'll call it, and that is like the enemy of success right now. We can't give in to that sort of thought process where if we just YOLO into something, be it the use of the treasury or the buying and burning of Sphere or hiring someone just to achieve some sort of short-term relief of that pressured anxiety, it's inevitably going to be the wrong decision. We have to set that aside. We have to look at the long term, almost ignore to some degree all of the market conditions around us and say, given those market conditions, how can we very carefully place our chess pieces for the next move forward? And when new information comes our way, how are we going to modify our strategy? Yeah, YOLO crew gotta calm down for sure. All right. So number 3 in OX Guedes questions. What's the size of the current Sphere team, and what's the estimate for how big it will grow with the launch of more protocols within the Sphere ecosystem? I found this question quite interesting. So the actual size of expansion will definitely be variable based on how many projects we are working on. So the other thing too is that sometimes we collaborate with other teams, which is going to lessen our workload. For our in-house projects, we've moderately built out just about every facet except smart contract creation. And we'd like to take this point in time to remind everyone that positions are indeed still open for Sphere team members, including looking for Solidity devs. So please apply, or if you know anyone who is a Solidity dev, please refer them to us. We would greatly appreciate that in our expansion process. And question number 4 from OX Godes. Similar to actually to prior, after the exploit of USD Plus on Avalanche following a previous problem on the BNB chain, what reassurance can you give the community's concerns that we are still paired to USD Plus? So thank you for the question, but I did previously address this concern earlier in this AMA in response to Kairzl's question. Question number 5 then from OX Grodes. Do you think a change... Oh, very similar actually. Do you think of change in pairing to USDC or Matic with a move of the LP to QuickSwap, making the buying selling process easier, would be the best move at this point in time? So we do still intend to add liquidity to QuickSwap, and we'll do so when the time is right, unless something changes, at which point we would certainly let you guys know. Pairing with a volatile pair is also still intended, though the timing of that continues to require careful consideration. And then we certainly definitely want to make the swapping experience easier for Sphere. And there's always consideration of how this can be best achieved. And in fact, I also want to point out that in Sphere's next steps roadmap, it's actually part of that next steps to seek out any new dexes to increase Sphere's purchasing accessibility. So it's definitely on our list of things that we want to do. And I know it's been an ongoing issue in terms of being able to easily swap to and from Sphere. Thankfully, it can be done using USD Plus on Dystopia. I have not had any issues with it personally, but I know other people have, and I know it's not necessarily beginner friendly. So yes, we are aware of that and certainly want to improve on it in time. All right, last question number 6 from OX Goodness. I'm really excited for Dyson launch, as I believe it can be a game changer. Can you unveil a few things that are being prepared on the background for promoting Dyson so it can have a successful launch? Well, if you haven't already, I encourage you to listen to the fireside chat by Lilo, our boy CryptoFat, and Mnevis, who talked about how Sphere is marketing during this bear market. I also made a video summarizing the AMA if you're interested. And then recently in the announcements, we released a Medium article. So there's 3 different avenues you can explore in terms of, how we are approaching the marketing of Dyson. Beyond that, the alfalfa, I am not at liberty to dispose. So, and then he ends with thank you, Sphere team, for all the hard work and just keep building. We certainly appreciate that. Thanks for the questions. A lot of good questions. So thank you for those as well. All right, where I kind of lost my spot. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Harambe, is the plan for Dyson to be released by end of year still in play, or has that since changed? So that is the goal, but the biggest goal of Dyson's launch is to make sure it's impactful. So we are working hard in the background to try and make both of those things happen, and any updates we have, we will certainly let you all know. Plob, again, hello. While the sell taxes are needed now, at some time in the future, it will need to be removed completely. Would the team consider starting to reduce sell taxes now, but doing it gradually, for example, reducing by 2% per month over the next 12 months? This will make Sphere increasingly attractive to buyers with each passing month. It will also allow for monitoring of how Sphere and the wider ecosystem is responding gradually to the change instead of potentially causing a sudden shock later on if sell taxes were to be completely turned off overnight. So this is actually a pretty interesting suggestion, and I would encourage you to write something like this in the suggestions section of Discord. That would be the best place for a thought like that. But yeah, interesting suggestion, Plub. All right, then we have King Market. I want to understand how we arrived to a point where Dystopia is resolving Penrose contract issues, but also to see how we can better empower our Penrose mods so they can provide more assistance in the future. So we're sorry to hear if you had any issues with Penrose. Empowering the mods, like the Discord mods, does not change Penrose on a technical level, since every piece of info on Penrose that is technical is going to come from the Penrose dev team. But important to note is that even though Dystopia and Penrose serve 2 different purposes and operate under 2 different teams, they do work together on a lot of factors. So that means that we have offered and given assistance to the Dystopia team, and so it's not so unusual to see that assistance, that help is being reciprocated back to us. Hey, a camp. Can we do the AMAs on Twitter Space? Yes, we know. We do plan to utilize Twitter Spaces in the future, as I mentioned earlier. But specifically for the community AMAs, and I did mention this earlier, because it is more community focused, at least for now, those will stay on Discord. But we are trying to come up with a way of how to use Twitter Spaces effectively. Plob, always with the good questions. Does Sphere have or intend to have insurance for protection of investor funds against hacks, thefts, exploits, etc.? Well, actually, perhaps later down the line. However, we are taking the time to audit all of our code, especially when contract vaults are concerned, as you can see with Dyson, which is being audited by 2 companies. So that is certainly the biggest area within which we can protect funds from hacks, thefts, exploits. In terms of the insurance, though, all we have is a perhaps, but nothing official, yay or nay on such a topic. Alrighty, Mad Mike Delta asked an update to the core team expansion, summary of open positions, how many applied, interviewed, and if a fit hired to the core team, also why not. So again, thanks for your question. I did previously address this earlier in the AMA in response to one of OX Guedis's questions. So I will defer you to that. And wouldn't you know it, we got another question from Plum. What up? Could you please give us an update on the Sphere app that was released some time ago to facilitate buying? What is the current status of this app? Any future plans for tweaking this to improve the Sphere token buying experience? So the Sphere Finance app is built by a third party. and we are definitely interested in giving it some attention at some point in time. But our current workload is very highly tailored towards building out the ecosystem and different revenue streams for Sphere, including, of course, Dyson, Sphere Lend, Preon, right? These are all the different things that are in the pipelines. And of course, Dyson being rather big in terms of how we are looking to market Sphere and push out within the ecosystem. At the end of the day, though, we definitely, like I said, want to make the swapping experience easier for Sphere, and we're always going to be considering how that can best be achieved. All right. I see Crypto Krill is typing in AMA questions. If you want to, Crypto Krill, I don't know if you can hear me. If you want to post that in the stage chat as well, we can go through it there, or where you are. That's fine, either way. Let's see. Now he disappeared. I can't find him. But otherwise, that's all I have for today. Those are all the AMA questions until, okay, here we go. All right, Crypto Krill, for the Twitter Spaces, what about ecosystem calls with other projects in the Polygon ecosystem? There are other ways to get out there than just talk about what Sphere is doing, but what others are doing, general topics surrounding DeFi. Yeah, it's certainly a good suggestion. Like I said, we're still considering different ways to use Twitter Spaces, how to use it best. So for this, actually, I would also encourage you to toss that into the hashtag suggestions section, because definitely a potential good way of us to use Twitter Spaces and how we can integrate it. So yeah, good idea, and I suggest putting it into the Twitter space, into the Twitter Spaces, into the suggestions tab. Yeah, right. Kairos, I'll launch Dyson on an AMA on Twitter Spaces. Also a good suggestion. You guys this is the thing. You guys have good suggestions, and we love to see them. And so these all belong in the hashtag suggestions. I know I see Lilo in there all the time going through those. So I definitely encourage you, Kairzell, to drop such a suggestion in the hashtag suggestions so that we can have it there as reference and to ponder upon. When Dyson, the Dyson vacuum. I mean that's been around for a long time. It's a really good vacuum. There it is. Fiat off on ramp. Yeah, also a good suggestion. So I would also suggest putting that in the suggestion section. I know it's been mentioned. I don't have anything formal on an on-off ramp. Um, yeah, well, the CXs are weak. Yeah, exactly. Now's the time to pounce, so to speak. I know it's been tossed around. I don't have anything positive or negative on that though. But also a good thing for the suggestion section. And I can imagine, over time that being something that we would want to focus on, just making Sphere easier and more accessible to people who are new to DeFi, new to crypto, just entering the space. So yeah, I think it's a really good suggestion. It seems like the on ramps are more readily available. I think the harder thing, it seems to me anyway, the harder thing to do is the off ramp. Yeah, Ultra, becoming an on ramp means registering as an entity in a country and having an aspect of centralization, which means government oversight, and that's no bueno or DeFi, sir. Yeah, that's also a thing to consider as a weight on top of making an on-off ramp. You're then dealing with bankings and regulations, and there's a lot to consider within that, and formalization within that. So I do think that process is eventually going to become more streamlined. But right now the regulation is just so incredibly varied that there's a lot of questions still in terms of how that can all be cemented in place. I talked to a bank exec about getting ramping away from centralized exchange is a priority. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great to have these on-off ramps more accessible, easier to do. I do think that's a huge barrier, especially like when I talk to people about it. That's a whole area that has to be learned and described, and there's so many things that could go wrong. So, Crypto Krill, learn to earn or gamification of tasks for marketing campaigns. Some great marketing tools for Run as Web3 Gleam that also limit spoofing. Yeah, in terms of different marketing campaigns and what we can do, there will be a lot more that we can do once Dyson is formally launched, proof of concept is in place, and then once Sphere V3 rolls around, again, proof of concept is in place. There's a lot more that we can do. Being more conservative in the bear market with how we're marketing, and this discussions we're reaching out to with teams and going more of that route, at least for the time being, is our approach. But as we mentioned, having the ability to pivot marketing, expand into different areas is going to be very important moving forward. So potentially something for the hashtag suggestions. Ultra comments, laws and regulations are very unclear and vague. Yeah. So adding that headache to the team doesn't make a lot of sense for Sphere at the moment. Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point in terms of what we're building and trying to lay the foundation for. That's going to take precedence. And then, as you've seen in our roadmap, the next steps after that are moving more towards expansion of accessibility, marketing, adoption. But first, you have to have it's like, we want to make sure that the product is there, so to speak, before we push into adoption. It doesn't make sense to have something that's unfinished and push really heavily into a more widespread adoption. So that's another point to consider. Dillip. Is that a play on, well, obviously it's a play on Philip, but is it a play on Dill? That's my question. Is any other projects working on? Oh, you got me, Ultra. I am definitely a pun man. I like my puns. Yes, Dilip. So if you go to the Sphere Finance website and scroll down, towards the bottom there is the timeline and direction. You can click see the full Sphere roadmap, and that'll take you to a much more detailed roadmap of what we're working on, what we're building. And if you go down towards next steps, which is, I believe, the third section here, and then all the way towards the bottom, there's this section with so much more to come. And there's, I think, 5 different codename protocol launches that are included within this roadmap here. So yes, other projects, a lot of things going on behind the scenes in terms of like what we've mentioned already with marketing and Dyson. So there's more there, It's just again a matter of getting the pieces in place, getting the foundation set, making sure that what is there is sound before pushing into public access, like with Dyson, the audits, the beta testing, a lot of things to have in place. And we would much rather, like I mentioned earlier, play it in such that we are building this for the long term rather than trying to force out things as quickly as possible just for the sake of trying to create these different revenue streams without there being much there. It just doesn't make sense. that would be playing far too much into the desire for a short-term relief, when in reality we're playing for the long term. All right, very good. Well, we're about 40 minutes in. Does anyone have any other questions, thoughts, reflections, concerns, ideas, suggestions? Got like 3 people typing at once. When Dyson beta. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When will the whens ever? And take care, Price Time. Thank you for your time. Well, thank you for your time as well. Much appreciated that you're here and willing to, listen through and participate. You guys are what we're building for, so really happy that you're here. Hey, what up, OXJ? Yeah, still need to test the vacuum. Exactly, yeah, yeah. How well does it work on carpet versus hardwood? How does it stand up to like a string on the ground when it gets wrapped around? You got to test all these things. Anyone else having a problem with their T-sphere showing up? So first I would make sure that you have the correct T-sphere address, and you can do that, I believe, on the top right of the screen in the drop down of the settings. You can click add T-sphere to wallet. So that's one thing you can do, Adrian. But if you're continuing to have trouble, I would suggest opening a support ticket, which is on the left side of Discord. You can scroll down to the support section and open a support ticket. Hashtag submit ticket. Ultra is also suggesting to clear cache and refresh. First bear market I'm facing. Oof. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's bear markets are not fun for anybody except those who are shorting. But even that, right, is within the realm of trading and must be done very carefully. It's hard. Bear markets are very tough. And consider also, right, Sphere is a protocol that is building itself out to be a center of liquidity. And when all of the liquidity is leaving, it makes it very hard to kind of push through that and kind of bear down, focus on building the foundations for when the liquidity returns. And I don't know, Dilip, if you were here earlier, but back when things were really starting to take a turn towards the worst, a lot of projects, developers just yeeted out of here and were not to be heard from. So a lot of people kind of abandoned the space as the liquidity was leaving, but obviously we are still here and still building, so we're not going anywhere. Yeah, stay strong. Absolutely, we're here. We are here with you as well. So, join the Discord, or join the main chat, the price chat. Engage in some conversation. Share how you're feeling. Share what you're thinking. Ask questions. We're certainly happy to help as best we can. I'm come to embrace the bear market. There's a ton of cool stuff happening to this bear right now. Yeah, it is better to embrace it. Bear markets are indeed useful. There's a lot of good things that can come from them if you're long-term focused and careful. Ultra, I've been in crypto since 2013, so I've seen a few of these. Best thing you can do is lose the emotion. Yeah, stay calm, invest in long-term projects with good fundamentals and teams that can execute. Now is the perfect time to become an information sponge and learn as much as we possibly can. Yeah, well said, Ultra. I don't have much to add to that. Well done. All right. We're just cresting past 45 minutes, so I'll probably end the stream in just another minute or two. Any last minute thoughts, questions, concerns? Deep life lessons. All right. Well, I do think now is a good time to end. I see a couple more people typing. 8%. Oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, most people who obviously invested at the top or within the, what was it, when things really started towards the end of last year, really saw the biggest, hardest decline. People who've been in longer, it's easier to recognize the bear market as it is, but to see things from the top coming down is certainly much more challenging. Eagle is here since day one. First year in crypto, doing fine, and bear, feel lucky. Very good. Happy to hear it. Positive attitudes are really ultimately what's going to get you through. And as Ultra said, doing your best to disconnect emotionally, because those emotions can get very, very taxing. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And we will touch base next time. As always, thank you for watching, and always remember that you matter for who you are. Adrian, be sure to open up a support ticket, okay? And our mods will help you out. All right, but I shall end the stream now. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Take care, and until next time, bye-bye.